Today we're talking about the late 80s hard rock and glam metal scene, specifically the debut self-titled album of supergroup Mr. Big. I'll be talking about their unique blend of catchy hooks and virtuosic musicianship that made this album a standout. From the catchy lead single Addicted to That Rush to deep cuts like Wind Me Up and Merciless, I'll be giving you some history and trivia. Then I'll take a look at band members like Eric Martin on vocals, guitarist Paul Gilbert, bass player Billy Sheehan, and the late drummer Pat Torpey. I'll give a brief history on all of them later. Each member came from a different musical background, so they all brought something unique to the table. This was one of the biggest supergroups of the late 80s, no pun intended. Then I'll talk about the album's critical reception, MTV videos, comparisons to popular bands, girls, cars, breakups, commercial success, and its impact on paving the way for the follow-up hit record, Lean Into It. I'll even mention how Roy Orbison and Humble Pie tie into all this as well. It was a very popular album in the hard rock and glam metal scene of the late 1980s. The album was released on June 20th, 1989. It was produced by Kevin Elson and it was very successful, reaching number 46 on the Billboard 200 chart. I remember this album very well. I remember they had the lead single Addicted to That Rush, and I probably saw it on MTV or something like that, and because of that I went out and I bought the CD. Addicted to That Rush was a hit, reaching 39 on the Billboard mainstream rock chart. It was the opening track and was written by Gilbert, Sheehan, and Torpey. The song really showed off the band's style. Not only was it a catchy and radio-friendly song, but it included a lot of technical musicianship. The song is basically what the title says, being addicted to that rush, or someone who can't get enough of doing exciting things, which could be different for many people, such as going to concerts, or jumping out of a plane or whatever. There's also a music video I remember watching. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I went back, I rewatched it, and the video shows Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert shredding on the bass and guitar respectively. The music video is a live performance, and it appeared that they were trying to be like the old Van Halen. I think that's what they were going for. But with that being said, it's still a good song. I think it holds up years later. And I like that the song has both guitar and bass solos. The album had a lot of other songs. Many of them were staples in the live performance. I'll be talking about all of them, but some of them were Wind Me Up, Merciless, Had Enough, and Blame It On My Youth. Ben really knows how to blend two things. Number one, being able to write catchy hooks so that anyone could enjoy the music. And number two, being able to show off their virtuosity. In general, the album got a lot of praise from the critics. A lot of critics noted their technical skill and intelligent songwriting. The album also performed very well, with approximately 300,000 copies sold, according to a 1990 interview in Musician magazine. The success set the stage for the follow-up album, Lean Into It. Released in 1991, that album had an even bigger hit, which was a ballad called To Be With You. But that's a topic for another video. Let's talk about the band. First, the singer Eric Martin. He was popular in the late 70s to early 80s. He had a solo career, was part of the Eric Martin band, but he really became big when he joined the Mr. Big. Again, no pun intended. And I have a feeling I'm going to be doing that a lot today. Then we have guitarist Paul Gilbert. He was a member of the band Racer X for a while, and he put out a bunch of solo albums. He's made guest appearances on various other albums. I reviewed two of his solo albums. One was a Christmas album called Twas in 2021, and then last year he released the Dio album of Dio covers, but it was instrumental. Then there's bass player Billy Sheehan. He's been with lots of different bands since the late 70s, before Mr. Big. He played with David Lee Roth, and then he left the David Lee Roth band to join Mr. Big. He's pretty much a star of this album. Like, sometimes the bass player gets overshadowed in hard rock bands, but he makes sure that does not happen. He just plays a very special role in every song. Last is drummer Pat Torpey. He was a session drummer. He's been in lots of different albums by different bands in many different genres. The only notable one I'll mention, he was on the 2001 album by The Knack. Just saying that because I reviewed that first album. But let me also mention that Pat Torpey died in 2018, and he was 64 years old. The band also has another album coming out pretty soon. It's called 10, and it's the 10th album. I'll talk about that when the time comes. I already talked about Addicted to the Rush, so I'll start with Wind Me Up. This one had a music video as well, and here's some trivia. So according to Billy Sheehan, this song, the main guitar riff is basically Roy Orbison's Pretty Woman in reverse. Now that you know that, you can't really unhear it. In all honesty, it sounds like they were going for David Lee Roth era Van Halen sound on this one again. The music video also has a live performance that shows close-ups of the band as well as black and white scenes. In the lyrics, there's a line, there ought to be a law against it, to lead a man on, then let him go. So that pretty much tells you what the song's about. There's an album track called Merciless. This one has a lot of technical guitar and bass playing. This one had more of that glam metal sound from the late 80s. The lyrical content was typical of the late 80s, talking about girls and cars and comparing girls to cars and that type of thing. The song has a lot of energy, like the first two songs of the album. I haven't listened to it in a while, but I think I remember it a little. I wouldn't say it's one of the songs that stands out on the album. Next song is Had Enough, and the first thing you hear is the shredding on the bass. It's like Eddie Van Halen picked up the bass guitar. The song was more laid back. It had one of those slow building intros. I guess this would qualify as a power ballad. It reminded me of those bluesy arena rock songs, something similar to what Whitesnake was doing at the time. The song is basically a breakup song where the guy's telling the girl that he has had enough and she can't see what she did to him, whatever that may be. The next song is Blame It On My Youth, and this one was a hard rocker. It's another song that had that late 80s glam metal sound. The song seems to be about someone who is an adult but still parties like a young adult or something like that. Whatever it is, he blames it on his youth. The song's not too bad. It has a lot of those big guitar chords and a little bit of a blues rock sound. Next song is Take a Walk. This one had some heavy metal guitar riffs. I might even say this one was one of the heavier songs on the album, but it still sounded like some early 80s Van Halen. There was a lot of that guitar wankery on this track. Another one of those breakup songs where the guy is saying that you pushed me too far, so you need to take a walk. Then there was a song Big Love. This was that blues rock or arena rock. I wouldn't call it a ballad, but a little more laid back and commercial sounding, like one of those arena rock bands. The song's about the guy who is getting ready for some big love, so I'll let you interpret it any way you want to. The song's not too bad. If I had to pick a weaker or more forgettable track, I'd probably pick this one. After that is a song called How Can You Do What You Do? This one sounded like the hair metal of that time. It's like Poison or Def Leppard. It had that type of guitar sound. Just another love song. The song was written by Jonathan Cain of Journey and Eric Martin, and they have a knack for grammar with things like, how can you do, what you've done to me? So anyway, the song was okay. It wasn't too memorable, but not too bad. There was a song, Anything For You. I guess I could call this a second power ballad on the album. It was one of those bluesy, Whitesnake-ish types of ballads. Not like the acoustic rock To Be With You from the next album. It was one of those electric guitar ballads. I don't remember it too much, so I don't think it was popular. Another one of those heartbreak songs that were very popular back then. After this is a song called Rock and Roll Over, and another hard rocker. There was a Kiss album called Rock and Roll Over, and for some reason I can imagine this band, Kiss, playing the song. It had that Kiss in the 80s type of sound. I guess the song title made me think of that connection. But it's a decent song. It reminded me of the Kiss song, Let's Put the X in Sex, but I'm not really sure which one came first. No pun intended. The lyrics were also a little cheesy, such as the line, love is like a faucet, turn it off and on. The last song is a live Humble Pie cover of 30 Days in the Hole. I didn't recognize the original song. I don't know if this track was on my original CD. I don't really have much of an opinion on the song. I probably need to listen to the original first. The original came out in 1972. It was released as a single, but did not chart. Later became an album rock track, was played on the radio. But enough Humble Pie history. I'll save that for another video. So that is all. Let me know your thoughts on the self-titled debut by Mr. Big. Did you have this album back when it came out? Let me know if you followed this band over the years, because I had forgotten about them after their second or maybe even third album. I remember the song Wild World. I really like that cover. But check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. I'll see you in the next one.